What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland, joined as always by Lauren Khalil. Lauren, you're at home. Is something wrong? You're never home.
But I'm actually looking at you guys right now. I'm realizing that it looks like I'm in a black hole.
Well, you are
also known as Syracuse, New York.
You said it.
Yeah, I mean, it is very fitting. You guys live in beautiful Northern California. That your backgrounds, really reflect where you live, and mine does too. So maybe we'll just leave it, or maybe I'll get some fun pink lights because I am who I am.
There you go. And featuring Tommy Marquez. Tommy, what's up?
I have an orange light, not pink, but it can be pink if you need it.
I like it.
Send me the link to that, Tommy.
Yeah, I got you.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Well, we got a couple things to talk about. Two really big things that we're going to spend the majority of the show talking about. The first is, shocker, Toomey is going to compete at the CrossFit Games and go for her 8th CrossFit Games championship. And then there was an article in the Morning Chalk Up about athlete turnover, and then there was a response from the Barbell Spin where they looked at it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And that's about it. So before we do that, though, we want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Thirdzy. And we're going to tell you about something a little different going on that we have going on with Thirdzy, okay? So first off, if you go to thirdzy.com, use the code TEF to save 20% on their Rest and Recovery Collagen, which is magnificent, by the way. And I found this out. Since it doesn't make you drowsy, it just calms your central nervous system to help sleep. You can drink it during the day.
I know, that made my head explode when I found that out.
Whole new world here. I might be going through the Thirdzy a lot faster. Doesn't make you drowsy.
I know,
it
might take a little bit during the day if I'm ready to watch a movie and just relax, unwind.
I'm so excited about this. Like, mind blown. So anyway, not only does it help you sleep, it just calms you down, right? So take it whenever, but especially when you want to sleep, because it doesn't have melatonin in it, so it's not habit forming. It has GABA, L-theanine, magnesium. As we mentioned, calms your central nervous system, helps you get to sleep faster, stay asleep longer, and get more quality sleep. So that's our standard offer. But what Thirdzy is also doing is that they're going to help get an athlete to the CrossFit Games. Now, this can be an athlete at any level. Doesn't just have to be individuals. So if you know an athlete, master, teenager, individual, who is going to the CrossFit Games, and you think, hey, that person could use some help, we should get them sponsored. You can scan the QR code right here, upper left-hand part of your screen. It's going to take you to a document where you can say who you are, who you want to nominate, and why. And then we will pick someone for Thirdzy to sponsor for the CrossFit Games. Now, you got to go and use our code, get the Thirdzy, and then the proceeds of those sales are going to go towards sponsoring that athlete. So it's a really cool gesture from Thirdzy.
Sick.
And they want to help somebody get to the CrossFit Games. And again, it doesn't have to be someone heading to Albany. Could be going to Columbus to compete in the age group. So keep that in mind.
Any division.
Yep. Scan the QR code right there, and you will be able to nominate somebody. And if you're listening to this, just go to our YouTube channel, watch this, scan the QR code. It'll take you right there. Fill out your information, and then we will choose somebody leading up to the games. So
linked on Instagram as well.
Yes.
So plenty of places to help sponsor an athlete.
That's right. Thirdzy.com. The code is TEF. You'll save 20%. And then, like I said, scan that other QR code that we have on the screen, the one next to my dome, and you can nominate someone for Thirdzy to help get to the CrossFit Games. So really appreciate everything Thirdzy's doing. And just good people with a great product. So
yeah.
All right, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about Tia?
I mean, kind of leads the day.
It kind of does, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's shocked by this given the circumstances. I think there would have been a little bit of doubt had she been able to compete at the World Championships in High Rocks and done really well there. Then maybe the competition cup is full and she's like, yeah, I can skip the games. But the second that she didn't compete in that, I was like, oh yeah, she's going to Albany and she's gonna mop up. So
why wouldn't she?
No, exactly. It's 3 days of work for her. Right? 3 days.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to travel that far because she's already stateside. And she can pick up a 6-figure winnings. So why wouldn't you? So here's my question. I have two questions, right? The first one is this. Does this make the games more exciting / watchable or less so?
Yeah, we kind of this definitely came up in Q&A. We were chatting a little bit. I think it makes the games more exciting for sure, regardless of whether or not the outcome is essentially predetermined. Because if this had just been any regular old year and she was like, I might not compete this year, or maybe like, other extenuating circumstances, maybe it might not have, because everyone's like, oh, okay, it's just going to be the same thing. But I think with all of the chatter around her potentially retiring and stepping away completely, and even some of the media that she's put out, that makes it feel like this is going to be the last time. That adds a different layer of excitement, as if, and we talked about this at Q&A. It's like the last tour theory in essence. It's like you will go see a band that you've seen before and countless times if you think this is the last tour or the last time you're going to see them. And you might even go out of your way to go and see it when you otherwise wouldn't have.
Sean was raising an eyebrow like, she's going to go for 10. She's going to go until the wheels fall off.
Well, let's stay with does this make it more exciting? And because I think some people there are people who want to see a competitive, exciting women's field. Okay. You're still going to get that for second through whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
10. Yeah.
That's still a thing. But I don't think there's anybody right now, despite the fact that Tia may not have been training at the capacity at which she's used to training for the CrossFit Games, who would bet against her. The fitness level is still there clearly. Look at what she did at the Torium Pro. Why would you bet against her? Like Tommy said, I think this is more now of a coronation that is a competition for first place. There should be some great competition behind her, but I think there are people that are like, oh man, I kind of wanted to see who was going to win. I like having that in doubt. But I do kind of agree with you, Tommy, that I think more people will find this to be a net positive because of the fact that maybe this is the end. Maybe this is the last time that she does compete. What do you think, Lauren?
I think is it more interesting? Is it more exciting? I think it depends how you slice the piece of pie, because Sean, as you said, I think there is a good amount of sports fans who want to see tight races and it come down to the last day, not knowing who's going to win. But I would say, I think that this is the best case scenario for the sport and the community for a couple of reasons. I think it's great for CrossFit that Tia is continuing to not just promote CrossFit, but also show up and compete at the games. But I also think that there is a group of potential new fans that Tia has from High Rocks. We can assume that, a lot of High Rocks people come from the CrossFit space, but not everyone. So I would be curious to see if certain High Rocks fans that might have met her at any of the times she's competed or have now become a fan through that will buy tickets, show up, support her. And then that kind of brings the marriage of the two sports again, or for the first time, really organically. So I think that it's good for a lot of reasons. And I think that the storyline is, how much is Tia going to win by? And is the margin going to be bigger than we've seen in past years? Or are we starting to see that gap between first and second narrow? So I think that there's other storylines we can follow, even though that she's there.
I definitely think it's the former rather than the latter. Like, can she run the table, or what's the highest level, like in a full games field, 2020 notwithstanding, because that was different. How much of the total allotted points potentially can she take home with her?
Yeah.
Is it going to be something like 2021 where she was just unstoppable? No one was even really close. You could even say that about 2022, right? And then, I think the excitement comes around how much is she going to win by, given that she wasn't training full time for this,
and how many event wins can she collect?
Yeah, it's almost like how many limbs. It's like, have you ever played with like your younger, this is a big brother thing, right? Like how many ways can I like handcuff myself and still beat my younger brother, or that little cousin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes novelty, and it becomes kind of like this like fun way of doing it. Like, to me, that's kind of what it is. It's like she hasn't been like solely focused on this. She's had other things with High Rocks, like the time building the brand, the mom, the ins and outs, even considering retirement and stepping away for me is another external factor. And I'm like, all right, but she's still gonna, lay the beat down. To relate to something Sean and I both know, it doesn't matter where he's been or what he's been up to. When you hear the dong, and you're like, oh my God, it's the Undertaker. You're like, he's
what movie
coming
is that?
It's wrestling. WWE.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys, when you said, something Sean can relate to, I figured you were going to talk about movies.
Well, I mean, you were close.
Tommy's
I mean, what theater fan doesn't enjoy professional wrestling?
Exactly.
Really. I mean, let's
exactly.
Come on. Now, I was just sitting there thinking, Tommy, when is the last time, and I think it's 2017 when she won her first one, when she did not have it wrapped up going into the final event?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that first win.
Yeah. Because it was probably not wrapped up. I can see it not being wrapped up 2018, although it technically kind of was. Because I want to say that Laura also won the final event, and I think I want to say she ultimately won by under 100 points, right, okay. But I can't remember if it was more than that start. So it was like technically not wrapped up in 2018, but it definitely still was. Mm-hmm. It was like, all right, Tia's not going to finish dead last in this type scenario. But other than that, like, there hasn't really been any drama.
So here's my other question too: is that the buzz, back even when, I was told she was retiring. The buzz was all season that she was retiring. Fast forward to now, makes the announcement. Torian Pro is going to be I don't know the exact words, but I think swan song or something like that phrase was used. People are like, this is going to be it. She's back at the CrossFit Games. When are we going to know that she's really done? Because
when she doesn't sign up.
Well, I guess, but that is actually probably the best answer.
I don't, even if this is the last year, I don't know that she'll announce it. Yeah. Until we don't see her sign up for the Open. And then she comes out with a YouTube show making the announcement,
It's like Tom Brady, right? Like, there are people still murmuring, like,
he's gonna come back.
Yeah, like,
right?
You
never know.
When you're that good, when you're the GOAT, and you have that much of a competitive drive, and you've already pump faked retirement once.
Well,
that
once and a half, probably.
Yeah, once and a half. Then it's always going to be considered. Same thing with Brett Favre, right? He retired twice.
Yeah. Yep.
So. Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing. It's like when that announcement is made, or if like let's just say that there's some tribute at the games this year to her. Do you hold back on that a little bit? Because you got to kind of leave the door open, because I'm guessing because of her affiliation, right? That being in an affiliate, that she's going to sign up for the Open every year just to do it. And if you were her, why wouldn't you leave that door open? Because,
why would you close any earning potential opportunities?
Right. It's like, you're going to go, I'm going to go through it, see how it is. And I'm not going to make the decision until I kind of know if I'm good enough to win this thing. And if you are, go win it, cash your check, do your thing. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to be like a definite, yes, I'm retired. I think it's going to be, we'll see.
Yeah. Who was the boxer that came back after a long time? Was it George Foreman?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that prize fight is always just one call away.
And I just think that there's people, and T is one of them. They're just, they have got to find, they're so competitive and they're so good and they're so driven that they will find something to go compete in. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's just, if I can still do really well at this, I'm still going to go do really well at it. Why would I not do that and set myself up financially for a very long time? Not only me, but also my family.
Your family. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I guess the other question I have too is like, do you think that I am retiring, or well, maybe not. Do you think that has any effect on the way that people view her at all?
No.
I don't either.
Like, how so?
In that, here we go again type thing. I don't think they do. I think more people really like to see her compete.
Yeah.
I think more, yes, but I do think that there are people who probably feel that way.
It's less of like it takes away from it, and more like I'm chock full of analogies today. Like when two friends are like, perfect for each other before they do, and they're like, no, nothing's going on.
Yeah.
We're like, come on, buddy, come on. I saw you 6 loggers deep at the bar the other night. You guys are cozied up in the corner. Like, come on, let's just get through the formalities and like get this rolling.
We all know what's going on. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So that's really more of what it is. It's like, okay, if you're, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like if Tia is even considering it and is not like 100% definitive of it, then she's in.
Agreed. I think she's in until she, like Lauren said, either doesn't sign up or just doesn't show up.
She's either 100% in or 100% out.
Yeah.
She's she's either 100% out or everything else is in. That's a better way to phrase it.
Yeah. That is a better way.
Agreed. Yeah. There's no like, yeah.
Guess I'll do this on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, because she could just trip and fall into a gold medal at the games at this point.
I mean, the people who are the most upset are her fellow competitors who are like, oh, finally, I might be able to. Oh, really? It's like,
100%. Well, especially like
with the payday, like,
yeah,
it's a big difference in.
That's the fellow competitors like, oh man, just go away.
Yeah.
But in her and Tia's defense, like, well, why some of you beat me,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like this year, there's no Laura, there's no Gabby. Mal O'Brien is not anywhere to be seen. She was sort of the next one that was supposed to kind of take that mantle, and she's enjoying her life and not competing. But there's just no one there who's
Emma Lawson, who's been on the podium, isn't going to be there.
Nope.
Yeah.
It went from one of the best opportunities to win podium, have a big payday, to now, given the prize drop off, that fact that there's over a $200,000 difference between first and second.
Is that the difference?
Oh yeah,
dang!
It's pretty.
I knew it was.
I want to say the first is like 287, 288, and second's like around 56, 57, I think.
I mean, which is still a damn good check to cash.
Look, if for $57,000 for 3 days, I would not turn down in a heartbeat, right? Like,
no, that's like $20,000 more than I made when I worked in television for a whole calendar year and working every holiday and weekend.
Yep. That's a lot more than I made my first TV job.
Yeah, like $24,000 for the year.
It's like 43 grand more than I made in my first TV job, but that was back in the 90s. All right. Well, yeah, that's those are the two things I wanted to talk about with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that leads us into I think the next thing I want to talk about. Before we do that, because this is going to be I think probably a shorter show. Want to what?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, do your news thing.
I'll do my news thing, but this will be really quick. If in a universe somebody in the field were to beat Tia, give me your elevator pitch of who it would be. Sean, I know you don't want to say anyone because you know that it's not going to happen, but who would it be?
It would be someone by the name of Sal Manella, because that's the only way she's losing is from some sort of illness, like what happened with High Rocks.
All right, I'll say, if she were 100%, good to go, not coming off an injury, if I had to pick somebody, I'd say Alex Gazan. If I had to pick one person to be like, you are legally required to bet against Tia Toomey, I'd be like, all right,
yeah,
give me Gazan, because that's this. I think that she could probably, given the training, I think and again, Alex is not at 100%, but she were, and she might not even compete. But if she were, I think there are some things there that she might be doing better than Tia right now, given Tia's High Rocks training. But I still
that's
don't
interesting.
Think enough.
I almost go two different ways. Someone who I think has such a solid internal presence, like mentally in terms of knowing who they are and like being able to separate themselves from the fact that in the moment, like if they're beating Tia Toomey, like not letting it absolutely crumble you, right? Because think about like all of a sudden it's Saturday night. You're going to the Saturday night event and you're ahead of Tia, and then the pressure of that, and everybody's talking about it. You know, kind of similar with Noah and Matt back in 2019.
Yeah,
I think Ariel Lowen is someone who could handle that.
Okay.
I think she is so grounded in outside of training in a way that I think she could handle that. The other person, honestly, I think outside of that, I think would have to be someone with such little experience competing alongside Tia, where it's almost like ignorance is bliss a little bit. Like, you don't know that you're not supposed to be in this position right now. And then to me, someone like Amy Kringle fits that. Where Amy has some certain things that she does really, really well. Some of the running, some of the longer time domain, upper body pulling, some of the gymnastics components that she can win an event. She might lose out a little bit on the lifting side, but this year, given Tia's kind of less focus on the heavy lifting, that might not hurt her as much. Mm-hmm. And I think Amy's just kind of the athlete. It's just like, okay, whatever, you know?
Okay.
And those are kind of the scenarios. That, and you know, Tia's car breaks down on the way, so she has to run the 4 miles to the was that
Ulis Albany had to do that one year at regionals. He had to ride a bike or something to get to
Poor guy.
That was awesome.
Well, I'm warm.
Made it.
Yeah, made it.
Yeah, I think Tia is just one of those athletes who, just by the sheer fact that she's there, people are like, oh God, she's here. It's like Ogie Oglethorpe in Slapshot when they're like, oh, he's here. Who's here? Oglethorpe. Ogie Oglethorpe. Like, yeah, you have 6'4", huge afro. You have and then the kid comes in. It's like, he's not playing. He's suspended. And all the team goes, oh, all right, thank God, guys, let's go get him. You know, like that's really what Tia is, the Ogie Oglethorpe of CrossFit. All right, Lauren, get us caught up on some news before we get to our next subject.
Yes. So Brent Fikowski was recently on the Mayhem podcast with Rich and Angelo, and I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the show. But Fikowski did announce that they were starting this new initiative called Centralized Movement Standard Database, that it would be in collaboration with the PFAA, alongside the Association of Fitness Judge, the AFJ, which I think everybody who listens to this is familiar with it. But essentially, it would be a database that generates all or most familiar CrossFit movements. So instead of each competition coming up with their own standards, it would be a database that they could rely on, utilize in conjunction with the two organizations. So just another way that they're, working behind the scenes and trying to legitimize the sport more and give people more resources when programming and things like that. And I would encourage anybody to go listen to the podcast because they talk more about, what happens if there's I forget what you call it when it's the non-common movement clause, I think is how CrossFit defines it.
Uncommon movement clause. Yeah.
Yep. They have a really good dialogue of, in that type of scenario, what would they do and how would they still support or not support? So something that's new, you can find the info. Fikowski, he bought the website domain, the movement, or it's just movementstandards.com. And it's linked within the newly reconstructed PFAA website. So people can, if you're hosting an event, a CrossFit event or a fitness event, you can find that, and just a really great resource to have.
Nice.
Yeah. And I give Angelo and Rich a lot of credit. Like, they come off as a lot of times, kind of like meatheads and stuff like that. And they lean into that, but they have, I listen to their podcast quite a bit. They have some really good conversations with people on there. And I haven't listened to Brent's yet, but I'm sure that is going to be a very good discourse, not people just trying to dunk on each other and, argue, but actually a really good discussion. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to listening to that. Okay.
I listen to it. I'll talk more later.
All right, cool.
I think half of what Angela does is try to make Rory uncomfortable.
Probably
in the best way possible.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to our next thing. Before we do that, we want to thank our other sponsor for today, and that is Creatures of Habit. and their overnight meal one oats. They have 30 grams of protein per serving. It's a massive time saver. I take this to work every day and I make it the night before, and it takes me like 1 minute. You just literally pour the stuff in the little plastic bowl that they give you, mix in some water or whatever you add with your protein. You can put more stuff in it, shove it in the fridge. You're good to go. They have incredible flavors. They got the apple cinnamon, blueberry banana, peanut butter banana, maple caramel, vanilla. I mean, it's super, super tasty. And again, it goes great with just about anything you want to put on it. I like to put a little dollop of peanut butter on my
why wouldn't you?
Maple caramel. Why wouldn't it?
So good.
You're here, do it. And
it's
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I told Lauren this earlier. It has saved me the last few days because I have been up like butt crack of dawn working at our property. And it has been just such a mental relief to basically the night before scoop, right. Put it in, wake up right away. Don't even have to worry about it. It takes longer to make to pour my cup of coffee than it does to have breakfast ready. And it's like multiple mornings in a row to Tiff. I'm just like, oh, thank goodness for this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had time to make breakfast.
I'm the type of person that absolutely can eat the same thing every day for breakfast. But if you're not, they have such a diversity in flavors. And like Sean said, you can add a little bit of peanut butter. You can add some honey. You can add fresh fruit, walnuts. Like
froyo.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, let me set up my own little froyo booth on my kitchen counter.
And listen to what all the ingredients that you get in just one of these little packets, right? You get 30 grams of protein, no added sugars, nothing artificial, vitamin D3, an added probiotic, and added digestive enzymes. All right. So go to creaturesofhabit.com. That's creatures with a K. Use our code at checkout. That's TEF. You're going to save 20%. And just, go nuts with it. Let us know what your habit is with your creatures of habit. Because I'm always looking for new ways to enhance mine as well. But it's like, it's the best, man. It's so tasty. And then you can also get they sent the sampler pack, and I've tried some of that stuff too. And those, like, I'm pretty much a maple caramel guy, but there's some other good stuff in there too. Yeah. Explore the space. Creaturesofhabit.com. Use our code TEF. Okay. Next thing we want to talk about is turnover at the CrossFit Games. So Morning Chalk Up put out an article, and I believe the headline was most 2024 CrossFit Games athletes are out in 2025. What's behind the turnover? And this is written by Emily Beers, great author. A lot of respect for Emily. But this is like turnover at the CrossFit Games. And Tommy, I will hand this over to you because you're the guy I remember who used to do a lot of looking at this kind of stuff. It's not new, but I think what makes it feel new is where that turnover is coming from and the people who aren't in this year as opposed to past years.
Yeah. And so Sean's correct. I used to do an Inside the Leaderboard from the studio every year on athlete turnover over, whatever you want to call athlete turnover, churn rate, a bunch of different ways, because depending on which direction you're looking, it can affect the numbers a little bit. But essentially, there's a few things that ultimately affect turnover, year over year when it comes to the CrossFit Games in the biggest way possible. Format change. Athlete injury / retirement. So involuntary / voluntarily sitting out without even competing. And then significant leaps in parity in the sport. So to have, based on Morning Chalk Up's numbers, if you're looking at it just from this year, 60 spots at the games, roughly, give or take, only 15 men and 15 women are returning. About 50% turnover rate from the previous year. Now, you're looking forward. If you look back, then you have to take into account that there were more spots at the games last year. So the turnover rate might be a little bit higher that way. If you're saying, hey, out of the 80 people that competed last year, 35 of them, 50 of them are not competing. Well, some of that is naturally baked in just by the fact that there's fewer spots at the games. So that's not always the best way to look at it. It's ultimately having something like this where around 50% either not returning or turnover rate. Let's just say 50% of the athletes competing in the games field in 2025 were not in the games field in 2024. That's probably the easiest way to say it. 50% of the athletes in 2025 didn't make the games in 2024. That 50% is actually fairly common. It hovers around that quite a bit. And in some years, it's even more significant. Top of mind, 2015 was a similar story. 2014, we had a 17 regional format. 2015, we decided to condense it into a super regional format with a different point system and everything. Fewer spots at the games, I think 6 total fewer spots at the games. And then you add in the other elements, right? You had certain athletes retiring, like Kalipa, Froning. You had significant increase in parity from the reemergence of new athletes. The following year was Tia's first year, Sarah's first year, Sam Briggs coming back, Matt Fraser's second year. And so all of those things kind of ultimately resulted in around a 55% difference. So 55% of the athletes that competed at the games in 2015 weren't there in 2014. So it's not necessarily uncommon. And then sometimes the rate is even higher. So I don't think it necessarily makes this stand out. But like Sean said, I do think there is a difference for some of the reasons why. You didn't have athletes that just chose not to compete in the game season despite being healthy. That's one of the major differences is the voluntary withdrawals without it being a retirement. And that's just like, we haven't seen that before. We've seen athletes maybe step away. Obviously, like you have Mal and Haley, they step away for other reasons. Mental health being, I would say, very akin to the injury side of things in terms of like something is you need to address. But yeah, the fact that we have athletes that are just straight up saying, nah, I'm going to go compete elsewhere is a huge difference.
And Lauren, we were talking before we came on here too. And you mentioned this a little bit too, Tommy, but there's that transition period where sort of the old guard starts to filter out a little more quickly and the new guard starts to filter in. So I think, obviously it's a lot of people have chosen just not to compete. I think there is that effect too. Those old guard starting to kind of.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like 2014 to 2015, right? That was a year. I'm just going to use that as a kind of a backboard example. Like that was a year that Josh Bridges failed to make the games. So you also have old guard that still compete but don't, and that's kind of a natural transition. Or you have the people that are kind of on the fence, and the uncertainty of a new format kind of gives them just an extra like notch in the belt as to why. They're like, well, I was thinking about maybe competing, but with all the change and everything, I'm like, you know what, this would be a good time to bow out. And
sorry, Lauren, would you want to add to that? Because I know you were.
No, just when you think of like the athletes and specifically the athletes on the men's side are standing out more to me, but these have competed at least 10 or almost 10. Noah Olson, Cole Sager, Brent Fikowski, Pat Vellner, Travis Mayer. Like I'm just thinking of like, it's this big wave of athletes that are around my age that are either choosing like one path or the other for whatever reason, or are unofficially retiring possibly. And I think that has an impact as well.
Yeah. And I think, Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong here, because this is the perception I have without actually really diving into the numbers. But the perception I have about this year, as opposed to prior years when it comes to turnover, is that it's coming from more towards the top. Athletes that we'd be used to seeing in the top 10, top 5, who have made multiple appearances there, who have been fixtures at the games. And Lauren mentioned a lot of those names. Whereas in the past,
BKG,
BKG, Yellow Host is not in the field. Like that churn usually occurs 15th on down.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah.
But again, I can't back that up. But that's the perception. Is that accurate?
No, it's definitely accurate. You see, like I would say 25 to 40, at least in the old games format, or roughly 24, 25 to the 43 spot when we had the weird 17 region format. If you saw the turnover at the top, it was something like in 2014 when you had Khalipa, Hackenbrook, Rich all retire from individual competition in the same year and switch over to team competition. There was 2014 women was a little bit of an anomaly in that I want to say 9 of the 10 women inside the top 10 that year never made it back inside the top 10 again.
We got to do a show on that. We got to get someone on there who can really break that down. That's always been a really big curiosity of mine of like why that was a weird year.
I mean, I was pitching that for a long. I was barking up that tree for a long time.
I'm barking up it again for you. Anyway,
that was a very unique year and a very interesting. I have some theories about that regardless involving some of the programming, but yeah. So, and that's not to say that there weren't some things that stand out. Like 2013 women's podium, all 3 of them didn't make it back. They didn't make the games the following year. You had Sam Briggs, Val Voberl, and no, did Val make it that year? I think it was just Lindsay Valenzuela and Sam Briggs that didn't make it. The top 2 women didn't make it. So you do have some things that pop out like that. But again, that's also like they got crushed by unique programming. But yeah, so to have it to this extent is definitely a little bit outside of the norm, particularly with people who are a mixture of able-bodied, and you could say like, yeah, they could compete, and they just decided not to. And there is some turnover. Like BKG just didn't qualify, right?
Yeah.
Like he went for the in-person semifinal. And if it weren't for the last chance, Yona wouldn't have made it either.
Yeah.
So there is some of that level of turnover too.
So on a scale of this is crazy to no big deal here, where do you think this comes down? Like just business as usual?
I would say un poquito picante.
Okay.
on a scale of this is crazy to business as usual, this is un poquito picante. Right. How Sean
it's
orders
like
his salsa.
Mild.
Yeah. a little zip. A little
just
zip
a
to
little.
It. Yeah. A little zip to it just because of the issues coming out of last year's games and some of the very vocal opponents to how CrossFit has handled that.
Yeah.
That's what adds the zip to it. As far as like the people that just didn't make it, that's stuff. That's, business, or the people that decided to retire. That's pretty business as usual.
Yeah. And I think Tia coming back obviously helps blunt that a little bit. But now had she been out, like you're talking about, Tia's out, Laura's out, Gabby's out, all 3 of those women, podium contenders. And then you mix it in with the other ones that are like, that's a more notable churn as far as names are concerned than I think we have had in total in the past. I think it still is, but yeah, I think the numbers show that this really isn't anything that we have not seen before. It just feels different. I don't know if it's a recency bias or whatever, but I think for a lot of people, it feels different. And I think for all the reasons that you laid out there. So
yeah, it's just like the blind resume thing that they do in football. Like these 2 quarterbacks side by side, you don't get to see, and you see the numbers. You're like, oh, they're actually pretty comparable, and you're like, surprise, it's Pat Mahomes and Carson Wentz. And you're like, what?
Or Johnny Unitas? It's like, damn, Johnny Unitas could slang it.
No, it's I think from a just like remove the context and you just look at the numbers, then it's nothing too out of the ordinary.
All right. Anything more we want to add on that?
I actually think, the more compelling scenario is Miles is going to bed.
See you, Miles.
Good night, Miles.
Sleep tight, bud.
You looked great eating your corn on the cob.
Yeah. He loved that.
That was a great picture.
I think the more compelling case would be to see what happens next year if this format sticks.
I was going to,
because it's really hard to compare year over year when there's just a format change every single year. What makes it exciting is when you have a few years of the same format, a change, and then a few years of the same format. So now you have some similar sample sizes, and it doesn't just feel like volatility constantly, because that's even just saying how volatile the season structure is year over year adds like almost an unforeseen kind of wrenching the whole.
Yeah, it's not an apples to apples comparison at that point, really. I mean, the numbers are what they are, but the like you said, the method of how we get there, because there's a different format, certainly affects things.
Yeah, and how do you measure like change fatigue, right? So like there are athletes that have been trying to make it, or they've been doing it for a long time, and they're just like, they keep, every year they announce a new format or a change, and they're like, oh, this again. They still go out and train, and they still like try to qualify, but it's a death by 1,000 cuts type scenario where like each year it just zaps a little bit of like the drive out of them, and then suddenly, in X year that they don't make it, following a change like this. How do you quantify that athlete? How do you put that athlete into a bucket as far as like what's the cause and effect? So,
all right, well, let's get to some community support, and we have something that is really, really close to us. I know, Tommy, you spoke directly to our good friend Andy Sakamoto about this today.
Yeah, so Andy Sakamoto's business partner's son and a member of the gym, member of the Greater Santa Cruz CrossFit community, Grayson. Long story short, went down to celebrate someone in Australia, started having some stiffness and discomfort in his neck, then suddenly had a ton of pressure in his head and wasn't feeling right. Went to the hospital. They decided he got really good care down in Australia, and they were recommended a CT scan. They discovered a mass in his brain. They recommended immediate surgery to remove parts of the mass, and as well as to like test it. Head pressure got worse. They actually recommended an MRI last minute. Before that, decided to, they've discovered a ton of fluid buildup and pressure in there as well. Thankfully they caught that. Found that, I think it's a shunt that they put in to help relieve all the fluid. If they hadn't caught it, they said it might have killed him in a matter of like days or a week.
Oh, man. Oh my God.
This is I believe he's in his 20s, mid 20s, perfectly healthy. Dude trains all the time. I've been able to work out with him and compete with him at local throwdowns a few times. And they believe that the mass in his brain was so aggressive that it might not have even been there a few months ago.
Oh man!
Wow. So this is a fast turnaround. Obviously, it comes as a shock. They basically relieved a lot of the pressure. They did a biopsy. They're doing more testing. I believe he gets cleared to fly home from Australia tomorrow. Okay. To come back and get more care before ultimately, I believe, trying to remove some of this. This whole process is very complicated. One of my best friends went through this exact scenario.
I remember this.
I know you remember. Yeah, right before my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of uncertain times, maybe sometimes more questions than answers. And ultimately, you're just hoping for the best. And there's not always necessarily the clearest path. But he's got he's got fight in him. They said, it's super beneficial that he's young and healthy, and talking to, people that are close to him. But at the same time, the care for that, especially if it comes back malignant, then you're talking cancer treatment, surgery, and that is not cheap. So, Annie's squad has been fundraising for medical bills, costs, everything. Heck, even just like getting him home. Give me 1 second. I have to find it because I spoke with Annie and she's supposed to send me the link, but I'll give Annie some guff. She didn't send it to me, but we're let me find it. Give me 2 seconds.
Is it a GoFundMe?
Yeah, it's a GoFundMe. Yes, here we go. Grayson and the Greco family. If you go to GoFundMe.com and just type in Grayson, it's Grayson. It pops up right away. It says support for Grayson and the Greco family. It's Grayson in a tank top and a gray hat and his beautiful long brown hair and beard. And he's hopefully coming home tomorrow. He's had some tremendous support down in Australia still, but they're barreling towards their goal, and we want to help get him over the goal. So this is one of the things that, like I said, the CrossFit community is the best at rallying around our own. And this one hits the Santa Cruz community pretty directly. So
yeah, for sure. So GoFundMe.com, type in Grayson, come right up. Annie Sakamoto and that whole crew, just awesome people. So,
and if you're unsure, Annie is the fundraiser organizer.
Yes.
So it should say Annie Kimiko Sakamoto. So,
all right. Do you guys have any community support that you want us to get the word out on? Please send it to us via our Talking Elite Fitness Instagram account or any of our personal accounts. Happy to get the word out. Please give us as many details as you possibly can, because we want to make sure we're sending people to the right spots to get the people the help that they need. All right, let's end with one more thing here.
I will say one thing. If you don't overlook just any regular, if you have head and neck pain suddenly, for Grayson, he had some blurred vision as well. Don't take it lightly. If something out of the ordinary with that stuff, it can hit you in an instant. Take your precautions. Man. Don't think it's nothing,
dude. I'm in my 50s. That I'll be a hero crap is out the door. It's like, this feels wrong, I'm going in. It's like, just to have it checked doesn't.
Yeah.
Don't my buddy, wait until it's an emergency.
Exactly.
Because you may not even get that level of time, right? But for my buddy, he literally woke up, felt a little off, and felt a little like through the morning, and then had a seizure, and that was it.
God.
Like, thankfully, he was okay on the other side, but like, that's how quickly it hits you.
Yeah. All right.
So,
hug your loved ones. That's all we're saying. Just take care of the people around you. All right. Let's end with PRs and no reps. I actually have one of each, so we'll start with a no rep. I got to call it up here. So if anyone has theirs at the ready, be my guest.
Lauren, you got one?
Lifting brain.
Oh, lifting brain.
When you know you can lift the weight, but then little voices in your head are scared. Why are they scared? What is it about that?
I don't know, man. Sometimes the most important muscle to train is the one between your ears, right? I mean, that has the biggest.
Thanks for the day of wisdom. But so that's
I feel like Sean's son getting a pep talk before his first flag football game right there.
Yeah, that's more like, go have fun, okay? Listen to the coach. You be the best damn center you can be, man. Like, that's it.
Don't bite the opponent.
Don't bite the opponent. Your team is in the green. Like, that's your team. Like, that's the pep talk. All right, my no rep is science. And I'm usually a very big fan of science. I love science. I love what science has done for us. I think it's improved our quality of life immeasurably. But I saw this on Instagram, so it's got to be true, right? This is from the account Science Fun with 2 N's. Scientists thawed 300 worms from Siberian permafrost.
No.
2 of them came back to life.
No.
One, 32,000 years old. Another, 41,700 years old. Let's not do this. There's just some things we shouldn't be messing with, and this is one of them. Let's not be thawing dead things out and bringing them back to life.
Why is this what we're putting our time and energy into?
What was it called?
I don't know. They thawed 300 worms from Siberian permafrost.
What's Siberian called?
It's called Science Fun. Science FUNN.
Siberian permafrost worms. That sounds like a monster you have to defeat in, like,
that's what I'm saying. Let's just leave
Elder Scrolls.
Science fiction writers and movies have taught us enough about this. Don't mess.
What is it? Not be bringing let sleeping dogs lie.
Let's just.
That's
good.
I see it, Sean.
They're there for a reason. See, let's not bring those. We don't need to start reanimating dead things. That never. Anyway, that's my no rep. Tommy.
My no rep is trenching and digging ditches.
Oh, God, I feel it, man. I pulled so much crap out of the ground over these past couple of weeks, man, and I'm not even digging stuff. I'm just yanking like bushes and brush out. Ugh.
Same stuff. I mean, I can't stand if there's a deep buried root under there, and I'm trying to get through to get that trench. Awful, but I mean, I kudos also simultaneously PR to the people who can do that day in and day out.
Absolutely.
That is legit work.
Yeah.
I will say this. there are very few times, there's a handful of times in the real world where I'm grateful that I have a 550 deadlift or whatever it is. And digging trench dishes is one of them.
Yep.
Because I'm doing that and I'm like, oh, I'm going to feel that in the morning. And then I wake up the next morning and I feel okay.
Yeah.
But I'm exhausted in the moment. So, right. But yeah, that is tough work.
Yes, it is. PR is back to Lauren. PR, what is it?
Oh, I want to PR Angelo, Rich, and Brent. Going back to the podcast that I mentioned that the three of them recently did on the Froning podcast, you know, they talked about the PFAA's demands. They put a little clip on Instagram and, you know, the way they cut it, you're like, oh, this is going to be like really spicy because, you know, you want people to go watch the episode. I am one of the victims that then went and watched the episode based on the clip. And I just want to give the three of them a PR because they were able to A, talk about something that was super sensitive, B, talk about something where they had different opinions. And it was just a really good dialogue of folks that didn't get angry with each other. They didn't make fun of each other or get offended. Like everybody was just having really good open dialogue, even though they probably ended the conversation still not necessarily agreeing with each other, but able to just have a peaceful conversation. And I just don't know that we see a lot of that, not just in CrossFit, but anywhere right now. So a PR to the three of them for having healthy conversation.
I gotta listen to that. Yeah, I give Rich a lot of credit because he's always been very willing to have a conversation. Let's just get in a room and let's talk. And I guarantee you, if you put those three, if they had to come to some sort of resolution or some sort of decision on something, I bet you could have put the three of them in a room. They would have figured something out.
Yeah.
I bet they would have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think that mix in particular, Brent, Angelo, and Rich, because I think Angelo and Rich differ, I would say, a little bit, right, based on age and life experience and where they are at their different stages of life, but are somewhat adjacent, or I would say adjacent in how they view some things, approach some things. Brent is on a similar like life place as Rich in terms of family, but probably approaches things a little bit differently than those two. So there's enough difference in that like triangular Venn diagram to where you could get a good balance that brings enough a differing perspective in certain areas to get a good solution, like you mentioned. Yeah. So I'd be for that.
My PR is a little more, it's more personal, and I don't know who to PR. So I'm going to just PR Good Samaritans. So the other day, so last Sunday, here in California, when you renew your auto registration, a lot of times you have to go get what's called a smog check. So you have to get like an emissions check to make sure that you're not blowing a bunch of dirty air out of your car. So I had to renew my registration, and then with that, they send you the DMV's like, okay, you're complete, but you got to take this form into a smog check station, get it checked, and they scan the barcode, and you're good to go. So Sunday, I was out with my son, like we went bowling, we were running some errands, and I had the form in my front seat, right? It was in my front seat, and it was next to like my shopping bags. And so he was getting kind of tired. Day was going kind of late, so I went, did my shopping, came home, and I could not find the form anywhere. I'm like, oh my God, I lost the damn form. Now I got to go back to the freaking DMV and get one of these things. And that's going to be a pain in the rump. And so I thought, okay, maybe they can do it and just enter the VIN number manually at the station. So yesterday I go into the station where I was going to get this done. And the guy's like, no, you got to have your form. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, we can't. That's how the state wants us to do it. I'm like, of course. So I was like, you know what? I had to go over to the grocery store anyway, again, to pick up a couple things. I said, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go and I'm going to ask. Maybe someone turned it in. So I go to the little customer service area, and I said, listen, man, I got a total shot in the dark here. I go, I was here the other day, and I know I lost my auto registration. Do you think, would you guys possibly have that? He's like, you know, that does sound kind of familiar. And he opens the door, and it is like the drawer, and it's right there.
What?
So I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like I wanted to hug him. So I grab my form, I get back in the car, drive back to the place, and I'm driving up to the thing, and I'm like waving it out the window. I'm like, I got it. You know, so I got it done. So thank you to the Good Samaritans who actually find something and turn it in. Appreciate that. PR.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that he just opened the drawer and it was right there for you.
Yeah, that sounds kind of familiar. And he opens the drawer and I'm like, there it is right there. That's it. And then of course he had to ask, like, that's the name. And but
It practically levitated out of the drawer itself.
I was like, there's no way they have this. Yeah, and they did. Someone turned it in. So it was awesome. Tommy,
that's awesome. Good for them.
PR.
I'm PRing James Sprigg and Heber Cannon for running an Ironman sprint triathlon this last weekend.
Good for them.
And I think they both hit the times that they wanted to. But yeah, it probably makes more sense now why Heber didn't drive, given that he had been training for that Ironman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I give, Heber's always gotten a lot of, he gets a lot of guff, and it's the disposition, it's the characters that they play. But that dude is friggin' tough, and he is a worker. I remember watching him work out at the HQ, be like, man, that guy he's got some fortitude. He's just tough. He's a tough kid. He doesn't quit, man.
Mm-hmm.
His grit and tenacity, I think, is his greatest asset in terms of like training and physical. Like he may not be the fastest, he may not be the strongest, but he'll be the last to give up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he
says a lot about character.
He woke up one day, and I remember he came to the office and he was like, I'm going to snatch 185 today. And I don't think he had ever done it before. And he's like, today's the day. And I remember I think we just finished recording in the studio, and Heber's like, I'm warming up. I'm going to hit it. So I was like, okay, I'll go over and peek and watch his first attempt, especially if he threads the first one, fails. And I'm like, ugh. And I wait and I watch him fail it 4 or 5 more times. And I'm like, all right, we got to go. I got to go up and we got to debrief this show. And we go and do some other stuff. And you could hear the heavy weights dropping but beneath us. It'd be every minute 30 to 3 minutes, you hear a dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, still hasn't got it yet. I come down to train at just after 5 or around that time. And I'm like, Heber, where you at? And he's like, I think it was in the 20s.
Oh my God.
20 failed reps?
Just was like, you know what? I still feel good. I'm going to keep going. And he eventually hit it.
Yeah.
And he didn't just hit it, he smoked it.
Yeah.
That one lift looked like it was the easiest snatch of his life.
Awesome.
Huh.
Yep, that's Heber, man. All right, that was a good one.
God.
Okay, well, that's it for today. Again, remember, Thirdzy.com, use the code TEF. If you made it this far, you can scan that QR code right there, the Thirdzy one in the upper left-hand part of your screen, and nominate an athlete you want them to sponsor to get to the games, any division. All right. Also want to thank Creatures of Habit, creaturesofhabit.com. Code is also TEF. You'll save 20% on their Meal One overnight oats packed with 30 grams of protein per serving. They're fantastic. Pick your flavor. Go nuts with it. It's fantastic. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm Sean Woodland for Lauren Khalil and Tommy Marquez. Take care of each other, be better, and we will talk to you guys next time.
1, 2, 3, go! Like a kiss at the start of a first date. If it's good, I don't want to wait. When the feeling's right, I'm taking everything.